These are the top 5 mistakes every noob makes in Valorant, brought to you by Logitech G. Because of Valorant's explosive popularity over the past few weeks, it's attracted players from all sorts of backgrounds. Understandably, the, now very large, player base is unfamiliar with the game's most fundamental mechanics, leading to a lot of these mistakes we've been seeing in most of our games. If you're wondering how to go from this,
I'm so bad,
to this, keep watching this video as we'll break down the most common mistakes we've seen players make so far. If you recognize yourself making these mistakes, don't feel bad, especially if you're new. This video is meant to teach you how to play better and improve, so you don't keep doing it again. Number 1 on this list, and the most frustrating thing for an experienced player to watch on the death cam, is seeing their teammates do this. Or, to make the point more obvious, this. What do these clips have in common? The right answer is, their crosshair is not aiming at anything at all. In clip 1, which literally every FPS noob does, the player is aiming at the floor when moving or running. In clip 2, the player is aiming at the sky. At pretty much all times in Valorant, you want your crosshair to be placed in a spot where if an enemy walks into your line of sight, his head will walk directly into your crosshair. This is one of the most basic and important concepts in all FPS games, and is something literally every noob struggles with. You want to do this because you want there to be as little time as possible between when the target enters your line of sight and you pulling the trigger. The first bullet you shoot when standing still is always 100% accurate with the rifle like the Vandal, and it becomes loads easier to land headshot insta-taps when you don't have to move your mouse across the screen to fire. This is especially important when it comes to holding and checking angles. If you're expecting someone to turn around a corner, just hold your gun at a headshot angle and wait for him to appear. You'll massively increase your chances of insta-killing the guy the moment he appears if your crosshair is in the right spot. Last thing on the topic, be careful about changes in elevation like ramps, stairs, or boxes. They often require you to aim higher or lower based on where you're standing, and it can throw off your shots. It takes a bit of practice and map knowledge to get used to, so as long as you're aware that it can happen. The second biggest mistake a lot of people make, especially those coming from games like Overwatch, is running while shooting. While it can work, most of the time, it shouldn't work. Here's why. Your bullets will always land somewhere in between this region of your crosshair. If you turn on firing and movement errors in your crosshair settings, you'll notice that region becomes a lot larger. Essentially, this means you lose all control of where your bullets go when you run and shoot. This clip should demonstrate exactly what the problem is. Even though the bullet spread becomes a little more controllable when you're crouch walking or walking, it's still a lot more inaccurate compared to just standing still. While this might sometimes be necessary, doing it makes you a slower and easier target for an enemy to hit, so it's not really suggested. The bottom line is, if you want to land your shots, stop, aim, then shoot. Say it with me this time. Stop, aim, shoot. This one's actually not that bad of a mistake. A lot of experienced players do it too, because sometimes not every spell is usable in every situation. However, what separates a noob and an experienced player is that an experienced player will use his spells most of the time when he can, whereas a noob will just never use his spells. This probably doesn't need mentioning, but when you're pushing or holding a site, good use of utility can really increase your chances of succeeding. Throwing in utility will force enemies to move, or at least mess up their angle. Keeping in mind our last point about running and gunning, if your utility forces an enemy to move, that enemy can't hit their shots. You can just run in and kill them using the time that utility bought you. Honestly, it should be obvious that when you hit your buttons at the right time, good things happen, but we've seen too many people in our games not hit their buttons. So, watch this clip of Myth solo holding a site by using his utility well on breach, and actually start using your spells, please. One last thing about this, don't forget to pick up alt orbs when you get the chance. They spawn in set locations and often might have an enemy watching over them. If you're having difficulty remembering to press your spells or dislike keybinds, consider using mouse binds for spells. You might find using the middle mouse button or side mouse buttons on a gaming mouse like the Logitech G502 more convenient and easier to use. Give it a shot if you're really struggling to remember these things. Another thing that drives experienced players insane are people who just walk across the map when the bomb has been planted with the hope of clutching the round. For the love of God, just save your equipment if that's your plan. Here are the reasons why walking across the map to clutch is trolling. A. There is no map where you get to the bomb site in time by walking across the map. B. If by some miracle you get to the bomb site in time, you still have anywhere between 1 to 5 players to fight, considering that you have to 1. Figure out where they're standing, 2. Get into a position to kill them, 3. Actually kill them, and 4. Defuse. C. In addition, by slow walking across the map, you've literally given your enemies at least 15 seconds to set up their post-plant positions, meaning that you'll likely never get a peek in without getting shot. When you're in a situation where you need to get a clutch defuse, you're going to have to take risks. We're not saying stomp around like a barbarian, but move as efficiently as possible. Use your knowledge of where enemies were last seen and play accordingly to that.
Sewers on the A connector.
One enemy remaining. Trick shots.
Speaking of clutch situations, we wanted to address the time it takes to plant and defuse bombs. Planting a bomb takes exactly 4 seconds. Make sure you're in a position to plant before the timer shows 4 seconds. If you're not, you goofed. Defusing's only slightly more complicated. Though it takes 7 seconds to defuse, you only have the bombs beeping to tell you whether or not you'll be able to pull it off as opposed to a timer. If you have to defuse from full, you have to start the defuse right as the third set of beeps start. If not, you won't be able to get it off in time and should start running so you don't lose your gear. Something that not a lot of people know yet, if you defuse the bomb halfway, it saves the defuse progress. If you're attempting a fake and they're trying to call your bluff, try to at least hit the halfway point because it buys you extra time for the final defuse. This can be a bit of a contentious point, but here's the deal. You're allowed to push a point as many times as you want. You're allowed to die at that point as many times as you want. But here's the thing. If you push, say for example, long B on bind 4 rounds in a row, and you die 4 times to the exact same person, and you didn't even think to try flashing any of those rounds, then we have a problem. When you do a repeat play over and over, you become predictable. Sure, there's no guarantee that you're going to play the same spot in the next round, but you've pushed a good player in the exact same way 3 rounds in a row, he's going to be prepared that you'll do it a 4th round in a row. You can, however, push the same site multiple times while being tricky and unpredictable about it. Things like changing the angle you peek from, tossing in a different utility spell, or even just delaying the push can really switch things up. Also, react to how your opponent has played that angle as well. If he's killed you from the exact same spot, it might make sense to peek that same spot. At the end of the day, being a smart player is just as valuable as having good aim in Valorant, and playing intelligently will get you just as many advantages. Thank you guys for watching. We want to give a big shout out to Logitech for sponsoring this video. If you're looking to buy gaming equipment, feel free to check out logitechg.com for high quality mice, keyboards, headsets, and more. As usual, if you want to see more Valorant content, feel free to comment what kind of videos you would like to see next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.